Hello, I got to the Prime Minister's questions today a little late, but it was dominated really by only two subjects, the Prime Minister's authority and the Rwanda problem. So to focus on the Rwanda problem first, uh, the leader of the opposition, Starmer, asked how has he managed to spend 600 million of taxpayers' money on a gimmick to deport 300 million or 300 people. The hint was that this wasn't even a policy that Rishi could believe in or even approved of earlier. Well, we know that in his career. And Sam says it will clear just 1% of the backlog. I think Labour is being generous, by the way. And in addition, there's also this idea that it's going to cost, what, 2 million per tourist to go to Rwanda. It's crystal clear, Sunak said. Not only does the Labour Party not have a plan to fix this issue, but the truth is they don't actually care about fixing this issue. This is a paper tiger invented by the right wing of the Conservative Party, by Tufnell, the ERG, and imposed on the present Conservative leadership. It then goes on, the Prime Minister's question goes on to Sir Keir Starmer's values on border security, said the Prime Minister. They're simply not those of the British people. This is in response to the idea that Keir Starmer had defended people who are sort of scurrilous, and Starmer pointed out that he had prosecuted more smugglers than Rishi had helicopter rides. He says the Rwanda policy will cost 2 million for every person. He says he knows Sunak likes to spend a lot of money on jet travel, a lot of time on jet travel, but even by his standards, £2 million for a journey is quite a lot. The Prime Minister told the House of Commons, when it comes to this question of how to deal with people who are here illegally, Starmer's values are simply not those of the British people. After all, this is a person who campaigned to stop the deportation of foreign dangerous criminals, and Sir Keir replied, it's genuinely sad to see him reduced to this nonsense. When it comes to the general election, the leader of the opposition asked, why is the Prime Minister so scared to call an election? This is running scared. This is the trope which, for example, Mrs. Thatcher used back in the late 1970s when she said that the Prime Minister then, Callaghan, was frit. As I said in January, my working assumption is that the election will be in the second half of the year. The assumption is for November, in the second week in November, but Jeremy Hunt suggests that it will be in October. But I must say, goes the Prime Minister, I thought that out of everybody, he, Starmer, would actually be the most grateful because he has now actually got the time to come up with a plan for Britain. He's quite right, of course. The Labour Party doesn't need to do very much in order to win the next general election. The next general election isn't won by the Labour Party proposing something magnificent. The next general election is one of those extraordinary elections that is won by literally the sitting party failing, the sitting party losing. So it really wouldn't matter what the Labour Party put forward. Stephen Flynn took up the same subject, with his backbenchers looking for a unity candidate to replace him. Which of the now numerous born-again Thatcherites on the Labour front bench does he believe best fits the bill? And Sunak laughed, and then referred to the chaos in Birmingham. Starmer said earlier, you can see why he doesn't want an election, why his party have lost faith in him, why half of his cabinet are lining up to replace him. No answers, no plan, no cue, and no clue, and the Prime Minister has never had the courage to stand up to his party. So let me help him out and say to them what he wishes he could. The mortgage mayhem, the waiting lists, the criminals walking free, they are the cost of Tory chaos. And if they can't bring themselves to stop the endless games and gimmicks, stop putting themselves before country, they should pack up, go home, and waste somebody else's time. And this brings us on to leadership itself, as the Taoiseach resigns in Ireland, admitting that after careful consideration and soul searching, he said, I don't feel that I'm the best person for the job anymore. Now, Rishi Sunak might be able to say the same thing, but in Prime Minister's questions, with a growing number of sitting cabinet members almost openly on manoeuvres, Rishi Sunak's entire focus, says Starmer, is on stopping Tory MPs from trying to replace him or stepping away from the approved slogans. He is now so diminished, said Starmer, that his entire focus is stopping his MPs holding the sword of Damocles above his own head, perhaps even literally in the case of the leader of the House. A nice reference to her job, holding the sword of state in the coronation ceremony. His great hope is to placate his party with a couple of empty planes, praying they won't notice when the flights stop going, the boat's still coming, and the costs still mounting. Because this is a sticking plaster to a problem which was entirely of the making of this particular government. It was entirely down to Lord Frost's negotiating about Brexit and getting Brexit done. Get Brexit done! Let's do it really fast! Let's not pay attention to the details, Boris might have said. And you have the problem with Northern Ireland, solved by Chris Heaton Harris, at least in part. And then you've got the problem with the abandoning of the Dublin III protocol with nothing to replace it, which led to this huge upheaval of boats from France to Britain, people risking their lives. And what are we doing? We're attacking the victims. We're not attacking the smugglers, no matter what the rhetoric of Braverman and Priti Patel and Theresa May and all these other people may have been. We're still attacking the victims with this expanded idea of the hostile environment. That's the thing which was set up by Theresa May to make any activity, any access of the Home Office a misery. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to renew your passport, you're trying to sort out a driving license, you're trying to engage with the police, you're trying to appeal for asylum. It's a misery, and nothing works on time, and nothing can be predictable. Nothing is predictable. Everything is horrible. And this sets a standard for so much of our life in the UK. And you approach bureaucrats thinking something is easy. And the Home Office, since Theresa May, has led the way in proving that the slightest issue is a headache. Now, I'm afraid I've seen it all before. I saw it in Greece, I saw it in Turkey, I saw it in Russia. And it's the same trick again and again. Except in those countries, you simply need to give somebody the white envelope, or in Greece, the fakilaki, the white envelope filled with the right amount of money, and that eases the machinery of power. In Britain, you just stand there looking lost.